Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us. My name is Charlene. I'm the Marketing and Fundraising Executive at Sarcoidosis UK. We'll be starting our interview with Alexei Sayle in just a couple of minutes. But firstly, I'd just like to say thank you, everyone, for tuning in, and thank you for watching all of our recent videos as well. As many of you know, we've been doing a lot on coronavirus and vaccines. So if you would like to catch up with any of our previous videos, you can do so by heading over to our website under the coronavirus information section, or they're also all available on our YouTube, Facebook and Twitter channels if you would like to go back and look at any of those. I will just say before we start our interview that, of course, everyone knows it's a really difficult time at the minute in terms of fundraising, and donations really are essential for us to continue our vital work. So if you are able to make a donation of any amount, that would be extremely appreciated. You can do so over on our website, and that, as I said, will enable us to keep doing what we've been doing and help, fund that research that is so vital into a cure for sarcoidosis. So thank you once again for joining. And I'm delighted to be joined today by a very special guest, quite different to some of the recent videos we've been doing. So it's nice to get a bit more of a light-hearted bit of content for you guys. So today I am joined by Alexei Sayle. Many of you will know him from the kind of comedic movement in the 1980s. He is one of British comedy's kind of the godfather, really, of the alternative comedy movement. So thank you so much for joining us, Alexei. It's great to have you.
Yeah, happy to be here.
Fabulous, thank you. How have you been keeping during lockdown?
All right, I go for a lot of long. I mean, I go for a lot of long walks with people, and that's basically what I do, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today. Your time is greatly appreciated. As I said, many of our viewers will know you, so I'm sure you don't need an introduction, but I'm going to give one anyway. So in the 1980s, Alexei was, as I said, a central figure in the British alternative comedy movement. He originally studied art before training to be a further education teacher, and then became the first MC for London's Comedy Store when it opened in 1979. He was voted the 18th greatest stand-up comic of all time on Channel 4's 100 Greatest Stand-Ups in 2007, and he starred in a number of TV shows, including The Young Ones and his own Emmy Award-winning Alexei Sayle Stuff. So we are absolutely thrilled to have him, and it's very, very great for us to have such a notable face on screen. So, of course, the main reason that we have got Alexei on today, apart from his absolute comedic greatness, is because Alexei is a sarcoidosis sufferer himself. So we've had a few questions sent in already, and if you've got any questions watching live that you'd like to ask Alexei, then be sure to comment them down below. But we'd really like to just have a bit of a discussion with him and find out a bit more about his sarcoidosis journey. And I'm sure a lot of you will be interested in knowing more about that as well. So we've had a few questions already come in. Firstly, Alexei, when were you first diagnosed with sarcoidosis, and what were the kind of early signs of things for you?
Well, it was, I think it was early, it was like 1990 or something, like around about... 1990, and I started getting these weird kind of raised circles on my head, and I didn't know what it was, and I went to, various people didn't really seem to have any idea, doctors or anything, but I was doing a tour of Australia, and my wife said, well, they're kind of, experts in skin diseases in Australia because, they have so many types of skin cancer. So while I was in Australia, I think I had a biopsy, and the results came back and they said there was sarcoidosis. When I got back to the UK, I think I also had an X-ray, and they found that all the glands down my trachea were swollen, and but then the circles kind of went away more or less, and I didn't really think anything of it. So that was, I just kind of, I didn't really go into it. And it seemed like there was a lot less information about it then. And I just kind of forgot about it really.
Yeah, for sure.
But
Did you know what sarcoidosis was before you got
not
diagnosed?
really. They said it was I have, I've got a friend who, he used to write, this guy called Matthew Norman, who used to write a column in the Guardian about his hypochondria. It was called the hypochondriac, and I've actually got 3 autoimmune conditions with virtually no symptoms. I have sarcoidosis, and he's really jealous of this. I have a thing called harlequinism, which is where you sweat on different parts of your body, and this hand is a lot colder than that hand is a lot colder than this hand. It's like if I exert myself, I sweat there, but if I have a curry, I sweat there. It's very strange. And a friend of mine also had it. It's very, very rare. A friend of mine also had it, and she used to go to Oxford to. They got a unit there, and they would coat her in flour and then put her in an oven, heat her up, and see where she sweated. Anywho, so I've got sarcoidosis, Harlequin syndrome, and I've also got a thing called lichen planus, which again, you get like a very kind of webby bits of skin sometimes, but it really doesn't manifest itself.
I see.
Anyway, so yeah. So I didn't really know much about sarcoidosis, but then in late 2015, I suddenly, for like a couple of seconds, the room would start to spin, and then it would just kind of correct itself. And I really didn't, think much of it really. But then one evening, the room just started to spin, and I just began projectile vomiting. And I couldn't stand up. I completely lost my balance. I couldn't see really. And actually, we thought it was just a virus, really, like some kind of flu. So I went to bed and continued vomiting throughout the night. But the next morning, I was no better. So we dialed 111. A doctor came around, and he thought I suddenly got Bell's palsy as well, with my face completely. And the doctor thought I might have had a stroke. So they took me to hospital. And then again, there was they couldn't agree what was wrong with me. Some thought it might be tuberculosis. But it was Linda actually remembered that, my wife Linda remembered the biopsy in Australia in 1990. And actually she's so well organized that she still had it. So she found the piece of paper and showed it to the doctors. And then
wow, that's incredible.
Yeah, I was transferred from UCH to the neurological hospital.
I see. Yeah, because
I was in there for a week, and I couldn't walk or couldn't see really. Wow. But then I kind of got better. I got better fairly quickly, really. Everything came back.
Yeah, it sounds like you had quite an intense experience at the start.
It was, yeah. I mean, it was intense, yeah. But then, I don't know. But the doctors thought, there is a kind of sarcoidosis that comes back every 30 years, really, and that's the type I've got, really. So
yeah, definitely, because that's the thing with sarcoidosis. Obviously, as all our viewers watching will know, that there's no treatment, so it doesn't go away. It just goes into remission, and obviously kind of flare ups and things. But that is part of why our work is so vital, because we're trying to find this cure, so that people don't have to go through the same thing. And I think a lot of our sarcoidosis community, they struggled in the first initial part of their diagnosis because it's so unknown. And I know a lot of people still struggle when they go to see their doctor, and they might not know as much as they kind of should do about the disease, which is really why we're trying to raise awareness and spread the information so that it's more commonly known, because a lot of people never even have heard of the disease before they get diagnosed. So it's definitely very important. We've had a couple of comments, Alexei, from people who are watching live. Eileen says, fantastic, great to have him on board. Sarah is saying that you are an extremely funny man, and it's lovely of you to be doing this with us. Peter Deverland also says, such a legend. The young ones and comic strip presence were so fantastic. So sorry you're going through this. Certainly very little information about sarcoid in the 90s. I was sadly in the same situation. So yes, a lot of people obviously, you know, do go through this, but it's great to have someone like you speak out about this, because this is, you know, how we do raise awareness and kind of show other people that, you know, anyone can go through it. And it's great to have that information from yourself. So you said that you're kind of doing all right now. At what point did you think that it was most challenging for you? Did you find that it really impacted your career in any way?
Not massively. I've got about 5 or 10 minutes to stand up out of it. So that's always the comedians. The comedians' impetus is always. So in my last tour, I talked about sarcoidosis and the experience of being in hospital. So as long as you can get some stand up out of any tragic.
That's a true comedic viewpoint on life.
That's always a win.
Yeah.
I mean, it's funny, really, that I mean, my memory of it in some ways is quite vague now. Really, I don't know whether I was in such shock that I didn't. I mean, it didn't. I was put on steroids for my face collapsed again. A few weeks later, I was put on very strong steroids only for 10 days, and it's funny when I saw Trump when he had coronavirus, and then they put him on steroids, and you can see it was actually the same kind of high that steroids. I think a short dose of powerful steroids is like. I felt fantastic. It was like you'd feel really energetic, kind of, and then you'd kind of slump, but you'd feel okay. I really enjoyed it. It was only like 10 days or something.
I see. We've actually had a few comments,
and it worked. You know, it worked very well, and the doctor thought that was a good sign that my sarcoidosis responded very well to.
We've actually on you. It's funny you mentioned kind of that buzz you kind of got from the medication. Some people I know have very adverse effects. So whilst on steroids, experience extreme fatigue. And we've actually had a few people comment live asking if you've ever had issues like that, like the extreme fatigue or struggle sleeping with your sarcoid.
No, I don't think so, really. I think the reverse. Never really. It didn't affect me in that way. It's funny though. I was hospitalized in December 2015, and the second volume of my memoirs was coming out in March 2016, and so there was a chance that it would impact the publicity that I was doing for the show. And it's funny. There's a video on YouTube that I did with the publishers where Stuart Lee interviews me, and I was just looking at it the other day, and to me, I look really ill, really. And it was about maybe 2.5 months after the kind of I've been hospitalized, and there's something looks weird, something funny with my skin. I think my responses are fine. I'm perfectly, with it, but I would look really quite ill.
Yeah, no, it sounds like Linda really was your saving grace, and I know a lot of people, their kind of support system that they get from family and friends is so vital, especially with it being something that a lot of people have never heard of. They kind of really need that support around them, because a lot of people, do suffer for a very long time, unfortunately. Do you think, I'm assuming having her, she really was the cause of you getting diagnosed? So
yeah, she was amazing.
Yeah, no, that's lovely that you kind of have that, and that you're able to get that support from her, and her being the one that led you to being diagnosed.
Yeah, she did everything, and she's very good with doctors and stuff like that. And the fact that she'd hung on to the biopsy reports for nearly 30 years
that's incredible. That is
a very extensive filing system.
Yeah, she hung on to that longer than I've been alive, so that's very that is very, very momentous.
Yeah.
Well, we've had some other lovely comments come in that I'll read just to boost your ego a little bit. Alexei Lejeune said, Alexis, you're truly a hero of the political comedy. We all love where you've come from. Karen Bridges says, it's so interesting to hear you talk about your experience, and comedy is the only true way to cope with the pain of life sometimes. It's great to know that you're a fellow Sark warrior. And Janelle James says, he is the best. This man got me through childhood Friday nights. Thanks for chatting to us today. So it's clear you're very, very loved by our community already. So how we mentioned, we touched on lockdown earlier, and we were just saying previously off camera that you've actually started doing a lockdown series where you're biking around London and bringing people along on the journey with you. Has that been giving you a bit of momentum to keep going during these difficult times?
Yeah, it's I don't think I would have. I mean, I've sort of toyed with the idea of doing podcasts and so on and so forth, so, but never really had the impetus to do it before now. But so I do a podcast, which is just a conventional kind of podcast, really. And then I also do these bike rides, and we just fix a couple of GoPro cameras onto a bicycle, and then I basically ride around London talking to myself, and it's quite hypnotic and relaxing, I think, to just look at the footage, really, regardless of what I'm saying. It's quite a nice. I quite enjoy watching the footage, really, and I've actually been on the bike ride. So there's, it's something different. I mean, I mean, in a way, I still, the whole podcast kind of world is normally, my working model is that obviously I do something, it's broadcast on a channel, so it has authority, and I get paid a lot to do it. The idea, doing kind of podcasts where you give stuff away, it costs you money to do it, and you're kind of giving it away for free. And you're competing with every other idiot on the internet. It's still something. It's still something that I think it's an interesting area to dabble in. I have some kind of problems with it, I think, in a broader sense,
Well, it's I'm sure that it's definitely bringing entertainment, what you're doing at the minute, to a lot of people in lockdown.
Yeah, people seem to enjoy it. It's not. I mean, it's also because I want to use. One of the reasons is I use it to generate material, but then I'll obviously use the material in my own Radio 4 series, and so which has an audience of, I think it's something like 4 million or something. But I don't want too many people when I'm giving it away. I don't want too many people to see it. So I actually don't want my podcast to be that successful. So if anybody, if anybody's watching, don't watch my podcast.
Well, there we go. Then you heard it here first. So what were you contacted in any of the lockdowns then, Alexei, to be asked to shield by the government?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not. I don't know whether that's going to get me arrested. Saying, I mean, they offered me food passes and things like that. And so, I mean, I just got in touch with somebody or other and just said, well, I don't,
Yeah, if you've not got the need and you've got your support system around there, then
I've got no symptoms. I don't see why I should be shielding, really. So I also don't want. I know a couple of people I know got those food parcels, which were like something out of World War II, tin potatoes and Fray Bentos kind of bully bee. I didn't want one of those. And I can't see. I actually have had coronavirus as well. I am a coronavirus sufferer hero. So.
I see. And have you been fortunate enough to get the vaccine yet?
Yeah, I've also been vaccinated. Yeah.
Oh, brilliant. And have you, I know a lot of people with sarcoidosis were kind of concerned about potential side effects and things. Did you experience anything that was untoward or out of the usual realm of the side effects to be expected when one gets a vaccination?
Not really. I mean, I did. I mean, I think which was a sign, obviously, that I had it. That I reacted. I was quite ill again for about 3 days. And it felt very much like I felt when I'd had the coronavirus. I mean, a milder version of when I'd had the coronavirus, in the first place. So apart from that, I mean, it hit me quite hard. My arm was sore for like 4 or 5 days, and I was quite ill for, I think, 3 or 4 days.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But that's I think compared to the protection that you get from the virus, it's a price worth paying, I think.
No, definitely. And as I said at the start of the video, we've done a lot of coronavirus videos and we've done 2 vaccine videos as well. And we would definitely recommend, if you do kind of have any doubts still or any questions, to go back and watch those videos, both with Dr. Robina Coker and Dr. Anna Blackney, because they are very informative, and they really did go into a lot of depth around the vaccines. So if you do have any questions, then do refer back to those.
No, there was no. I mean, I think doesn't the Sarcoidosis UK kind of say you don't really need to shield if you've got sarcoidosis?
It's sarcoidosis. The thing is with sarcoidosis, obviously it's different for everyone. Some people with sarcoidosis of the lungs are very severely affected and have been contacted by the government. Sarcoidosis is one of those. It's hard because you can't put it into a single bracket. It doesn't affect everyone in the same way. So we suggest that people do go by the advice that their doctor has given them, and of course be taking all the necessary precautions that they need to during this time. So yes, but it's great to hear that you haven't had too many negative side effects and that you're doing well. So that is great.
No, I mean, I walk. I walk about at least like 10 kilometers a day and stuff. So there's obviously nothing wrong with my life.
Yeah, no, that's actually a great point. Walking is, I think, one of the best things one can do at the minute, really.
Yeah.
Just kind of getting out there and keeping yourself sane. It's a COVID-friendly activity to be doing, and it's really good, particularly for sarcoidosis patients. Just to be keeping that activeness and being fit and healthy is really important as well.
Yeah. I mean, I can't imagine myself staying in the house, really. I can't.
Yeah, of course, no. Well, we've had some more lovely comments saying this is helping us to feel closer to other humans outside our daily group and some level of sanity. So thank you. And Eileen has said one of the funniest and transgressive comedy sketches I ever seen was the homoerotic paramilitary sketch in the 1990s. So clearly a big fan there. And everyone in the comments is absolutely loving this, hearing you talk about this. So thank you so much. So I'm aware that we don't want to keep you too long, Alexei. You've been very gracious for giving up your time to us. But what would, if you were to be in the position now of someone who was being diagnosed with sarcoidosis, obviously this is a very troubling time anyway to be diagnosed with something in the midst of a pandemic. It's a lot to be handling. Do you have any advice for just how to cope with the kind of severe effects that it brings on, or how to cope in those early stages where you're a bit confused and don't fully understand everything that's going on?
Yeah, well, obviously, I mean, I think I've been lucky in that my sarcoidosis is relatively symptomless. I did have a friend who had it much worse, and I feel very sorry for you, really. I mean, all that you can do is get as much information as possible, I think most. I don't know. I mean, it's a strange illness, isn't it? But I think that you have to do as much as you can. I think you have to try and live your life, I think, alongside this illness, really.
No, of course. And as you touched on about information, we have got some fantastic leaflets that are available to download from our website, very informative on the different types of sarcoidosis. So if you are seeking information, that's a brilliant place to start off with. And as I mentioned, we do kind of these Q&A videos regularly. Most recently, they've been very COVID focused, but we do have them on other topics as well. We've got an upcoming one about vitamin D, because I know a lot of people have questions about that. Yes, as I said, the website really is a great source of information for people who are both newly diagnosed and have been long-time sufferers. We do also have a Facebook group if anyone would be interested in joining that who's not already part of it. That is a great platform where members and the sarcoidosis community really come together to share their experiences. And I know it helps people feel a little bit less alone, which I think everyone on Facebook at the minute who's tuned in can definitely feel that from this video. It's nice to have that feel of someone else who's going through the same thing.
Yeah, I think it's nice. I mean, I think that's one of the things, and one of the things that technology allows. It's a wonderful thing to be connected to other people, even virtually. Really, to be part of a community, I think is a very profound experience.
Definitely. And one thing I can say for the sarcoidosis community is a very strong community. It's, even though there are not as many of us as other people, the community we have got is very, very strong. So it's great to have that support. And thank you for kind of joining our community today, Alexei. It's been great to have you be a part of it. And I think you put a smile on people's faces, which is brilliant during this time. So thank you so much. Thank you for joining us. So
you're welcome.
Thank you. I hope you've enjoyed this video, everyone. And as I said at the beginning of the video, if you are at all able to make a donation to Sarcoidosis UK, that would be extremely appreciated. We're trying our utmost to continue raising as many funds as we can to fund vital research into a cure for sarcoidosis. And it is very difficult at this time without being able to run our usual events. So if you can donate an amount to Sarcoidosis UK, then please do so over on our website. And we look forward to welcoming you to our next video. Keep posted on our Facebook page for more updates about when our next videos will be, along with the times. And we look forward to chatting with you then. So thank you. And once again, thank you to Alexei. You've been great. It's been great chatting to you.
You're welcome.